What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we are back working on the Mustang because I'm very hopeful that within the next week or two, probably 2 weeks, we'll be at a track testing somewhere. So hopefully the front wheels come in. If not, I have some spare front skinnies we'll have to use. But as you guys know, I did finally get my 15-inch bead locks in. But I've got a few things left to do on the Mustang before we can actually get to the track. So one of the things is we're gonna switch out these BMR drag springs for some different spring rate springs, but they'll still be BMRs. And then I've actually got a metal spacer that we're gonna add to the top to add some stiffness to the rear. So we've got those in that box up there. And then let me show you guys what else we're gonna do. So if you guys have been following the build for a while, you know that I deleted the AC a long time ago in this car. You just roll the windows down if you need AC. Anyways, the AC actually comes up and taps into here, and it runs coolant through the head, recirculates through the AC, and goes to this side. And then this side has a lower radiator hose that goes to the overflow can. So I didn't know that you could delete this lower radiator hose, so I did have to keep this black pipe. You'll see it when I take it out, but it's got two connections essentially, and one of them goes to the lower radiator hose and the other one goes to the other heads. But I didn't know that you could delete this lower line until I spoke with my buddy Matt over at the Billet Pro Shop, and he said I can just actually plug that in with like a bolt or something to block it off, and I can actually remove this lower radiator line. It's not even a radiator line, it's just I call it that because it's made out of radiator hose, but it's just a lower coolant line. I can actually remove that, which means I can take off all these ugly fittings and replace them with these super nice billet ones from the Billet Pro Shop. So that way I just have one nice AN line going across, and you guys will know what I'm talking about more here once I take this off. It'll kind of make a little more sense, but essentially I didn't replace this before because I thought I had to keep this lower hose that went to the overflow. That is no longer the case. I just need the overflow, but I don't need that lower line in there anymore. So we're gonna take this piece out, that one out, replace it with the two pieces from the Billet Pro Shop, and then we're gonna build ourselves a nice little AN line that goes straight across, and it'll clean all that mess up. Alright, so now that I got this off, I can kind of explain it a little bit better, but you can see I was actually having some overheating problems before TX2K, and literally a couple hours before I was supposed to leave and load the truck up, I actually cut this end off to make it shorter, because what was happening was this was on the passenger side and it was coming up and over to the driver's side, and I think since this one was actually taller than the overflow, it was actually getting air in the system. So I actually cut this down the night before TX2K and had to lower that, and then that's where I used these sweet plumbing fittings and warm clamps. And yeah, so now that whole system is out, and like I said, we're gonna replace it with the super nice Billet Pro Shop fittings, and then I've got some nice vibrant line and fittings to make the line, so that should clean it up very nicely. Alright, so we got our nice fittings on. Let's see, there's the driver's side right there, and passenger side right there. So now we're gonna make our little AN line, and I believe it's 8 Yep, so gonna make this real quick and I'll show you guys what it looks like installed. Man, the engine bay is looking good. So just to go over, this is what we deleted. We deleted the lower line that went to the overflow tank, and then this was the crossover line, and this was the other piece to it, and then that's an extra evap line that I had. I deleted the evap system a long time ago. I just had that line still running up there, so I capped that off, cleaned up a few other lines, got the new 8N line in there with the Billet Pro Shop fittings. Goes down, comes up there. I've got the cap off of the overflow tank, so I need to add some distilled water. Got the bottom port plugged on that, but letting the battery charge up real quick, and then we're gonna start the car and check for leaks. So the car seems to be running pretty good. Just got to top it off with some water, and I got to go back to work, but when I get back, we're going to start switching out the springs. All right, guys, got the rear spring out on the passenger side, and then we'll get to the driver's side, but this is the SP088. That's what was in the car. Worked really well, but we're going to go with a little bit stiffer spring in the back, the SP085, and we're actually going to add a little metal spacer on top of the rubber bushing, actually. So rubber bushing will sit in there, and then we'll actually put our little metal spacer on top of that guy. You know, someone once said, you can't fit 15s on an S550. That person didn't have a grinder. Alright guys, so I got the rear suspension all buttoned up, got the new BMR springs in there with a little spacer, and got the new weld beadlock wheels on with brand new Mickey Thompson ET Pro radials, and then I got some super nice tie shop lug nuts in there. So there is a slight rumor that we may be testing at the track in a few days. So with my front skinnies not being here, I just got word that they're probably like another 2 weeks out, which doesn't really make sense because the front skinnies I ordered is a very common size. However, the rears are a not so common size. But anyways, they're not gonna come in for like 2 weeks, and in a few days, we're actually supposed to go to a private rental. This is like a last minute deal. So I went and borrowed Branson's skinnies. Huge shout out to Branson. So what's kind of funny about these is the tires are actually off of Joe's Trans Am. These are some tires that he actually sold off of the Trans Am, but they're on Branson's wheels now. So huge thanks to Branson. I gotta go get some lug nuts tomorrow that fit those, because the lug nuts I have are for the weld wheels that are coming in. But honestly, this is a pretty nice front skinny, and I want to say these were like 100 or 110 bucks at one time. I don't even know the brand, but Branson told me about them. Rovos, I think. But yeah, Branson told me about these, and they're like 100, 120 bucks, something like that a piece. And they're actually really lightweight. So if you guys are looking for some inexpensive skinnies and you're sick of using like all the same brands that everyone uses, those actually look pretty good. So, and then we also changed the lines up here for the water. So what I actually now have to do is add a fill somewhere in this upper radiator line, because this little catch can, overflow can, not catch can, but overflow can, is technically not really in between any of the main lines. So it makes it super hard to fill up the system. I kind of took this line off and filled some water through there, took off another line and filled some water. So somewhere like right here, we're gonna have to add like a fill cap. So we're gonna have to get that done before we go to the track. But hopefully in the next video or a few videos, you guys will see us actually hitting the track. It's gonna be myself, Joe, and a few other people. Now, it's gonna be at the local track. So if any of you are new to the channel, we are in Amarillo, Texas, and typically I run the car in like Dallas, Houston, Oklahoma City, where the DA is anywhere from 1,000 to 3,000 DA. Here, the DA will be lucky if it gets to like 5,500 on Saturday. So it's probably gonna be like 5,500 to 6,000. So it's not ideal DA for good times, which I'm not going out to break any times. Obviously, There's a lot of new stuff on the car since TX2K. Right before TX2K, we put a built motor, bigger turbo, lots of changes. And then after TX2K, we put K-member from BMR, Viking front coilovers, new wheels and tires, changed a few other odds and ends. And so really I just need to get the car out and make sure it's all buttoned up before I start traveling, you know, 6 to 10 hours for races or for other test and tune sessions. So luckily the track is like 10 minutes down the road, so I can take the car there. If the car has any problems, we put it back on the trailer, take it home. It's not too expensive. I think it's a good investment. I'd rather, you know, something break here, or I figure something out that's leaking or loose or whatever the case may be. I'd rather figure it out here than be 6 to 10 hours away from home and totally waste a trip away from home for racing or testing. So pretty much going to take the car to do some 60-foot hits, some 1/8 mile hits. Probably won't even take it through the quarter. Our track isn't the greatest, but hopefully they're gonna spray a little bit extra since it is a private test session. But myself and Joe are really just going out to work on the suspension, 60-foot, and really just to make sure everything is put back together correctly and the car's not gonna fall apart when we go out of town. So we're gonna work through some kinks. You guys will follow along. I'll make a video on my car and on Joe's car, and I probably won't share any times because there's not gonna be any good times to share, but it'll be more of like how I'm adjusting the car, trying to work on the 60-foot, trying to adjust the suspension. And since our track is subpar and it's not the greatest air, the suspension will have to be changed when we go out of town, but it'll give me a good base setting. It'll give me a good idea of where I need to be. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you guys are enjoying all the upgrades on the Mustang. We are finally taking it to the track, and hopefully it seems like everything is starting to open back up so we can get right back to racing, and it's gonna be full go from here. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that video, and I will see you guys on the next one.